Forest fire spreads in Gwangyong, South Korea.
The National Fire Agency raised the fire alert to its highest, level 3. More details on this later in the news. Good evening. I am Ricky Mathay.
And I am Nina Richie Alagaw Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines.
Philippines and United States kick off largest joint military drills. China asserts Philippines and U.S. cooperation must not interfere in sea disputes. Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen slams China's military exercises. North Korea demands more expansion of war deterrence to counter Seoul and Washington ties. And U.S. President Joe Biden says he plans to run for re-election next year.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines and the U.S. Armed Forces have formally commenced this year's Balikatan exercises. Almost 18,000 military personnel will participate in the joint drill. Both camps assure that this year's Balikatan exercises have nothing to do with the tension in the Taiwan Strait. Prince Limonero has the story.
I now formally declare the Philippines-United States exercise Balikatan 38-2023 open. Mabuhay ang sandatahang lakas ng Pilipinas, mabuhay ang United States Indo-Pacific Command. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat.
The two-week Balikatan Exercises 2023 has officially started today. This is the largest Balikatan in 38 years, with almost 18,000 soldiers participating in the activity. The joint drill includes 5,400 AFP soldiers, 12,200 U.S. military personnel, and some soldiers from the Australian Defence Force. They will be working together to train in interoperability, particularly in maritime security, amphibious operations, live fire training, urban and aviation operations, cyber defense, counterterrorism, and humanitarian assistance, as well as disaster relief preparedness.
Contribute to the peace and stability of the Indo-Pacific region, professionalism, excellence, and camaraderie as we maximize the opportunities offered to us in all these events. Likewise, we should also take advantage of the opportunities from this exercise to learn from each other, develop friendship, foster stronger teamwork and cohesion, and improve our competencies. I am confident that both our armed forces shall reap invaluable benefits from this Balikatan exercise as we continue to pursue our shared goals of regional peace, security, and stability.
The AFP and U.S. forces assure that the Balikatan exercise will not affect the tension in the West Philippine Sea and the current situation in Taiwan after China's military drill.
No way affect the tensions going on around us, particularly in Taiwan or in the South China Sea, because the Balikatan is a year activity of the U.S. and the Armed Forces of the Philippines as part of the Mutual Defense Board and the Security Engagement Board and the MDT. And the exercise is just strengthening our interoperability and our cooperation at the military level. So it doesn't in any way affect the tensions, and it should be seen as separately between allied nations.
We've been doing this for 38 years, every April, and it is a tremendously important chance for us to train together as allies and partners, but it is no way tied to any ongoing tensions.
The military drill is just part of preparing for any crisis that may be faced in the future and is not referred to any country.
Tensions going on around us are the country's individual and political decisions to make. But for us in the armed forces, it's more of making ourselves as an armed force be more efficient and effective to respond to any disaster response, terrorism, or any challenges that our country may face in the future.
There's a technical aspect that our systems have to work together, which is something that we struggle with within our own force in the United States, and it's also something that we have to work hard at and exercise with our allies and partners, and we're going to do that in this exercise. So working those systems out from a technical perspective is important. The other thing that I will tell you that's probably more important is relationships, and I mentioned it in my comments about an hour ago, that you cannot surge trust. So the relationships that we have, that we build through these exercises, are what make us best postured to respond to conflict, crisis, humanitarian assistance, disaster relief when need be at speed.
This year's Balikatan activities include live fire exercises in the waters of Zambales, where a ship will be sunk using modern weapons and equipment of the AFP. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. was invited to the activity.
The live fire exercise is part of the exercise that highlight the exercise of Balikatan. It talks more of tactics, techniques, and procedures because we'll be using different armaments coming from the Army, Navy, and the Air Force from both sides. So we need the interoperability.
Also included in the activity are the renovation of 3 community health centers and multi-purpose halls and hands-on training in advanced emergency rescue and life-saving techniques. Prince Limonero for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Senator Amy Marcos warns President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. of the possible effects of the additional EDCA sites in the country. Madeline Villar Moratillo tells us more.
Amid rising tensions in the Taiwan Strait, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. remains unshaken of his decision of the additional Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement or EDCA sites in the country. However, Senator Amy Marcos, chairperson on foreign relations, warns the president of the possible effects of the EDCA sites may bring to the country. She shares that the distance between Cagayan and Taiwan is about 400 kilometers. This bears great potential for the Philippines to be entangled in the conflict between China and Taiwan, but also with the United States if they intervene. Senator Marcos also says that Filipino citizens will be in danger if a war is sparked.
We have no bomb shelters, no underground camps. We have no anti-missile forces. We have no anti-aircraft. In short, wala tayong gamit or protection.
Senator Marcos is doubtful of the information about the arriving 17,000 U.S. soldiers to join military exercises. She adds the Marcos administration must have a thorough review of the agreement under the EDCA. This includes a clear directive not to use the facilities in Luzon as staging areas to attack other countries, assuring that Filipinos will be safe from any problems the U.S. will enter. The Department of Foreign Affairs says it monitors the ongoing tension between the two neighboring countries. Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo admits the Philippines and the U.S. should have a talk regarding its access to the EDCA sites in the country. The Pentagon has no statement on how they will use the additional EDCA sites other than airport expansion and naval asset training. Secretary Manalo with Defense Officer in Charge Carlito Galvez Jr. is currently at the 2+2 ministerial meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. According to Secretary Manalo, the 2+2 meeting between the allied countries will provide a positive trajectory for the bilateral relations between the Philippines and the U.S. Madeline Villar Moratillo for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
According to the latest Pulse Asia survey, a large majority of Filipinos want to bring back the mandatory Reserve Officers Training Corps or ROTC program. This is supposedly to teach young people proper discipline and responsibility in society. Vin Pascual reports.
8 out of 10 Filipinos favor the return of the mandatory Reserve Officers Training Corps or ROTC program in college. This is based on the latest Pulse Asia survey conducted from March 15 to 19. Of the 1,200 respondents, 78% said that the mandatory ROTC should be reinstated, while only 30% were against it and 8% were undecided. Those who favored the program said that it should be brought back to teach young people proper discipline and responsibility in society. Meanwhile, 60% said that it will prepare young people to defend the sovereignty of the Philippines. Those who were against the program feared that it would lead to an increase in abuse, harassment, and hazing. Senator Ronald De La Rosa, chairman of the Senate Committee on Public Order, said that when sessions resume on May 8, the proposal will be debated in the plenary and positively ratified before the end of the year. It is expected that there will be a heated debate on the issue of why female youth should be included in the ROTC training. Aside from females, foreign students studying in the Philippines are not exempted from ROTC training.
There is no exemption. That's the general rule, no? No exemption. Kagaya ng mga foreigners, mga foreigner na estudyante, no? You cannot subject them to love our country, to die for our country because they belong to another country. And yet, hindi pa sila accepted sa ROTC.
If the proposal becomes law, it will cover all students in all colleges and universities nationwide, including those enrolled in technical vocational courses. However, he sees it as a reason why the proposal might be delayed in passing before the end of the year.
Majority rules. We live in a democratic country. Alam ko naman, kukunti lang naman yung mga estudyante niya na ayaw, lalong-lalo na yung identified with the left. Ayaw na ayaw talaga nila. We know that. Magparami muna sila para sila magkagustuhan nilang masunod dito sa ating bansa.
Vin Pascua reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Beijing says the joint military drills between the Philippines and the United States must not interfere with the disputes in South China Sea. Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Wang Wenbin insists the cooperation between the Philippines and China must not target any third party. He says China's territorial sovereignty, maritime rights, and security interests must not be harmed. Wang also highlights that exchanges and ties should also be conducive to stability and regional peace.
The low-pressure area that has been detected has developed into a tropical depression called Amang. This is the first typhoon of the year that's landed in the Philippines during the dry season. East of Virac, Catanduanes was the last area hit by the typhoon. It is said to have strong winds with 45 kilometers per hour and gusts up to 55 kilometers per hour. The typhoon is said to head west-north at a speed of 20 kilometers per hour. 13 areas around Luzon and Visayas are affected with a high chance of tropical cyclone wind signal number 1.
The Department of Health, or DOH, has recorded up to 118 cases of heat exhaustion due to the intense heat of the weather in March. According to DOH OIC Maria Rosario Vergere, most of those recorded were students.
The DOH admits that not everyone is included in the data. They still have no reports if anyone experienced severe symptoms or became critical due to heat exhaustion. Symptoms of heat exhaustion include dizziness, vomiting, and headache. Vergere warned that heat exhaustion can lead to heat stroke if left untreated. Due to the intense heat of the weather, the Department of Labor and Employment, or DOLE, released an advisory on how to prevent heat stress in workplaces. According to DOLE, employers should ensure that they also take into account the situation of their employees during this time, especially those with comorbidities or other health conditions such as hypertension. It should also be checked if there is a need to adjust the working hours and work location, especially if it is too hot. Even their uniforms, if possible, should be adjusted to suit the weather. Free drinking water should also be provided. Depending on the situation, DOLE also suggested the implementation of flexible work arrangements to limit the exposure of workers to the intense heat while still being able to complete their work hours.
There will be no water rationing in Metro Manila this summer season. This was assured by the Metropolitan Water Works and Sewerage System, or MWSS, especially as the water level in Angat Dam is still normal. MWSS states that the water crisis that happened in 2019 will not happen again this year. Engineer Delphine Saspene of MWSS says that although the country is preparing for El Nino, there will be no water crisis in Metro Manila. Together with Manila Water and Maynilad, the MWSS has prepared mitigation and augmentation measures for water supplications. Saspene adds that Angat Dam water level is normal, where 90% of the water supply for Metro Manila is taken and 10% is from Laguna Lake. MWSS also guarantees a connection to Ipo Dam in case of emergency.
The head of the Philippine National Police Drug Enforcement Group has filed a leave of absence. This amidst a controversy in the investigation of 990 kilos of shabu worth 6.7 billion pesos in a drug operation in Tondo, Manila last October 2022. Celine Dorado for the details.
Philippine Drug Enforcement Group Chief Brigadier General Narciso Domingo has filed an official leave of absence with reservation. Domingo is one of the 10 police officials directed by Interior and Local Government Secretary Benhur Abalos to take a leave of absence or be suspended in connection with the investigation of 990 kilos of shabu confiscated in a drug operation in Tondo, Manila on October 8, 2022. In the drug bust in question, Police Master Sergeant Rodolfo Mayo was arrested. In a news conference on Monday, Abalos says there is an effort to cover up the investigation.
Kami na nga po itong nakagawa ng pinakamalaking huli ng shabu sa kasaysayan ng PNP. 990 kilo shabu na nagkakahalaga ng 6.7 billion pesos. Kinasuhan ang dalawang suspects, pati na ang kapwa namin pulis, na si Police Master Sergeant Mayo, na by the way, na-dismiss na rin sa serbisyo. Kami pa ngayon ang pinagdudodahang kasabwat.
Domingo admits that he is upset that the PDEG is being pressed on delay of the investigation. According to Domingo, PNP Chief General Rodolfo Azurin Jr. put the internal investigation on hold and transferred the probe to a special investigation task force under the leadership of Commissioner Alberto Bernardo, Vice Chairman of the National Police Commission. The PDEG chief also denies any effort to cover up Master Sergeant Mayo, although they plan to use him to uncover a much bigger shabu warehouse in Pasig. However, the operation did not push through because higher PNP officials in Camp Crame stopped them from conducting follow-up operations. Domingo regrets that he did not bring in his own people to PDEG because he was confident in the composition of the group.
Sa nakita natin, actually tayo ang unang nakakita ng CCTV na yan. At napanood ko nga, maraming ang mali. That's why I admit may mga lapses kami. But then in our desire to accomplish further more illegal drugs, ay gumawa po tayo ng tactical move na makuha natin yung kabilang grupo na naglaglag dito kay Mayo. I know may mali-mali daw na may mali-mali daw na mga procedures, but I believe at that time ma-justify namin yun. And then also to add all other details, hindi ko na po pwedeng sabihin dahil it might jeopardize.
Other officials included in Abalos's directive are Lieutenant General Benjamin Santos, former PNP Deputy Chief for Operations, and 8 other officials. Celine Dorado for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Senate Committee on Public Order is ready to have its hearing on Monday on the crimes committed in the province of Negros Oriental. Witnesses are expected to testify on the severity of the situation following the killing of Negros Oriental Governor Roel Degamo. Mayan Corvera reports.
Witnesses are set to appear in the Senate hearing on Monday to testify about the cases of killings in Negros Oriental. Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa, chairman of the Senate Committee on Public Order, says the witnesses decided to come forward after the assassination of Negros Oriental Governor Roel Degamo. The senator notes that many have gathered the courage to testify and reveal the series of killings in the province.
Naman Degamo killing ang tutukan nito nating ating investigasyon, kundi lahat, 'di ba? Sabi ko nga ang nakalagay doon sa resolution na pinail ni Senator Risa Hontiveros ay lahat ng mga killings dito nangyari sa yung sunod-sunod na victimizing government officials. Yun, iti-take up natin, maghingi tayo ng update sa PNP regarding the investigation at saka yung mga previous Negros killings dahil nga mayroong magsusurface daw ng mga bagong mga witnesses, then we will entertain them, we will hear them. At hopefully, this can provide closure into those previous cases aside from the Degamo killing case.
The investigation aims to provide justice to the victims and gather evidence. The lawmaker also emphasizes the need to create policies against private armies and the proliferation of illegal firearms.
Just in case, meron tayong makitang additional evidence na makatulong to strengthen the case more airtight, no? Then magagamit nila yan, magagamit ng ating prosecution. Pero the main focus of this investigation is more on policy matters. Tingnan natin yung about having bodyguards, about having private army, about gun control. Titingnan natin yan.
De la Rosa assures that the investigation will not be used for political purposes and that fair treatment will be given to everyone involved, including Congressman Arnulfo Teves Jr., who was accused by Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla as being behind the killing of Degamo. De la Rosa adds that Teves will be given a chance to give his side even if he's currently in hiding and can do so online.
Naging retired na pulis tayo. Alam natin kung paano mag-imbestiga, no? Paano tayo hindi magpapagamit at paano tayo iiwas na hindi tayo magamit. But then again, since this is a public hearing, pagbigyan natin lahat na gustong mag-testify na ay accommodate natin sila. For all we know, justice will prevail through this hearing.
Mayan Corvera for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Coming up, Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen condemns Chinese military exercises. China vows strong measures after Taiwan drill ends. And North Korean leader orders for more offensive war deterrence. More stories from around the world when Mata ng Agila International returns.
Nasaan si Ramon Aranibar? Saan mo siya tinatago?
Ang mga nagtatangkang lumaban sa mga kriminal.
Pablo!
Nakalimutan mo na yung nangyari doon sa journalist? Alam mo, hindi na makakatakas si Ramon dito.
Sabihin mo, paano to nakarating kay Fernando?
Mapipilitan nga bang tumahimik?
Kanta na.
Sige na, tapusin mo na yan. At huwag ka na munang magpapakita sa akin.
Pauwi na rin ako, okay? Pauwi na rin ako dyan, mahal.
Buksan mo to, Mary! Buksan mo to pinto!
Two sisters.
Welcome back to Mata ng Agila International. In Taiwan, the Defense Ministry reports that it had detected 9 Chinese warships and 26 aircraft around the island. This after the 3-day Chinese military exercise dubbed Joint Sword ended. China's state media reports the deployment of its aircraft was a simulation of an air blockade around the island. Yesterday, the ministry reported 12 Chinese warships and 91 aircrafts around the island. This includes 54 planes crossing into Taiwan's southwestern and southeastern air defense identification zone. China had deployed its military forces in response to Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen's meeting with U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy last week. Another reason that escalated the tension is the deployment of the USS Milius guided missile destroyer through parts of the West Philippine Sea.
Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen condemns China's military exercises in the Taiwan Strait. Tsai said China did not demonstrate the responsible behavior of a major Asian nation. Sources say China's 3-day large-scale drills were retaliation for Tsai's meeting with U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy last week.
各位国人同胞，大家好。身为总统，我代表国家走向世界，无论是出访友邦、过境美国和国际友人交流，不只是行之有年，更是台湾人民的共同期待。然而，中国却借此发动军事演习，造成台湾海峡与区域的不稳定，这不是一个区域内的态度。
Tsai also commends the nation's armed forces and Coast Guard officials for guarding Taiwan's territorial waters and airspace. He also vows that though China has ended its drills, Taiwan's military will stick to their posts and defend their island.
Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin says China will take strong measures to protect national sovereignty. Wang's comments are a response to Taiwan's claim that they detected Chinese warships and aircraft around the island.
现在中巴两国对此访和对发展双边关系的高度重视。刚刚也是注意到巴西总统卢拉在康复后不久，便将于明日来华进行国事访问。
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has ordered for an expansion of Pyongyang's war deterrence capabilities in a more practical and offensive manner. This is to counter what Pyongyang's dubbed as United States and South Korea's frantic aggression. On Monday, Kim met the Central Military Commission to discuss plans against Washington and Seoul's unleashing of war aggression. This links to the previous U.S.-South Korea military exercise dubbed Freedom Shield. Last week, Pyongyang cut its contact with Seoul after it continued an unauthorized use of a joint industrial complex in Kaesong. In 2022, North Korea declared itself an irreversible nuclear power that completely nullifies the denuclearization talks.
Australia announced it was inching closer to stabilizing its trade dispute with China over barley exports. Sources say the warm relationship between the two countries now spells trouble as Australia seeks closer ties with the United States. Washington and Beijing are vying for influence in the Pacific region. China slapped hefty tariffs on key commodities such as barley and beef. Australia hit back by accusing China had breached international obligations by artificially hiking up tariffs without justification. Afterwards, China agreed to review its barley tariffs. Foreign Minister Penny Wong said Australia would be temporarily suspending its complaint with the World Trade Organization. Wong believed it is in both countries' interest for these trade impediments to be removed. Beijing also confirmed that Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs Mao Zedong will travel to Australia later this week. Analysts say Australia faces a difficult balancing act as China is its largest trading partner. Yet the United States remains Australia's crucial military ally in the Pacific.
South Korea says a significant portion of leaked U.S. intelligence documents are fabricated. Principal Deputy National Security Advisor Kim Dae-hyo refers to alleged reports that Seoul was arming Ukraine with weapons.
양국의 견해가 일치합니다. 공개된 정보의 상당수가 위조되었다. 거기에 대해서 평가가 일치하고 다만 이제 미국은 본국의 문제니까 법무부를 통해서 경위 그리고 배후 세력을 찾아내기 시작할 것이고 시간이 좀 걸릴 것이고요. 따라서 한미 간에는 일단 지금 평가가 일치한다 이렇게 보시면 되겠습니다.
Some files reportedly show concern among top South Korean national security officials. Seoul has a policy of not selling weapons to nations at war. Pentagon describes the leakage as serious national security risk. U.S. officials are also determining if the documents are genuine, but they say at least one appear to have been manipulated.
A report to Joint Control and Coordination Center says 4,483 were killed in the Donetsk People's Republic since February last year. Of this figure, 134 were children. The report also says 4,320 more people, including 276 children, have been wounded by Ukraine's active shelling in Donetsk cities. Authorities say 10,359 houses and 2,528 civilian infrastructures were damaged.
United States President Joe Biden says he is planning to run for re-election in 2024. In an interview, reporter Ala Roker asked President Biden if he was going to seek re-election. Biden responded that he was indeed planning on running. In a statement released by his team, the president expressed his commitment to continue serving the American people and building a better future for all. Biden's statement comes as no surprise to many political observers, as he had previously hinted at his intention to seek a second term. However, some had speculated that his age and health might prevent him from running again. At 81 years old, Biden would be the oldest president in U.S. history if he were to win re-election. However, he has shown no signs of slowing down and has continued to push for major policy initiatives such as infrastructure reform, climate action, and voting rights.
Donald Trump files an appeal against a ruling that compels former Vice President Mike Pence to testify before a grand jury investigating efforts to overturn the 2020 election. The appeal challenges the ruling by Judge James Boasberg. The ruling rejects Trump's claims of executive privilege that attempted to shield Pence from questions about his role as President of the Senate on January 6, 2021, when a mob of Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol. Trump's appeal on Monday presents another roadblock for prosecutors to get Pence into the sealed grand jury room to answer questions. A spokesperson for Trump claims that the Justice Department is continuously stepping far outside the standard norms in attempting to destroy the long-accepted, long-held constitutionally based standards of attorney-client privilege and executive privilege.
6 people are dead after a 25-year-old man armed with a rifle went on a shooting rampage in Louisville, Kentucky on Monday. 4 of the gunman's victims died at the scene. A 5th died later in hospital. The gunman is the 6th casualty. He died in an exchange of gunfire with police. 8 other people are being treated for injuries. Police say the shooting started shortly before 9 a.m. local time at the Old National Bank. The gunman has been identified as Connor Sturgeon, an employee of the bank. Police have not revealed a motive. Interim Police Chief Jacqueline Gwynn Villaruel says the shooter live-streamed the attack, but she did not reveal what platform he used. She says she is hopeful the footage can be taken down. 2 police officers are among the wounded. One of them, 26-year-old Nicholas Wilt, suffered a gunshot wound to the head. He remains in critical condition after undergoing brain surgery. Wilt had just graduated from the police academy on March 31st. The other officers suffered a minor injury. This is the 145th mass shooting this year in the U.S.
The mother of the 6-year-old student of Rich Neck Elementary who shot and seriously wounded his teacher in January has been charged with felony child neglect. In addition to the felony indictment, Deja Taylor was also charged by a grand jury with misdemeanor recklessly leaving a loaded firearm so as to endanger a child. Taylor's lawyer, James Ellenson, said that his client will be turning herself in later this week. On January 6, the first grader pulled a 9mm Taurus pistol, which had been legally purchased by his mother, from his book bag and shot his teacher, Abigail Werner. The 25-year-old was hospitalized for 2 weeks with injuries to her hand and her chest. The boy's family said in a statement shortly after the incident that he suffers from an acute disability and that the gun had been secured at home. Meanwhile, a forest fire spreads in Gangneung, South Korea. The National Fire Agency raised the fire alert to the highest alert level 3 at 9:43 in the morning. South Korean President of Yoon Suk-yeol calls for the use of all available resources to put out the fire. So far, the wildfire has destroyed over 60 structures, including 40 homes, and displacing over 1,000 local residents. Earlier in April, wildfires stretched across South Korea as a dry spell led to blazes in multiple regions.
Up next, thousands of Israelis rally in the West Bank. 6 Chinese individuals are charged with human trafficking. And President Joe Biden ends COVID pandemic emergency in the U.S. Mata ng Agila International will be right back. Please don't go away.
We haven't done this before. Our motto is ride and have fun.
3, 2, 1,
As part of our advocacy of motorcycle tourism, we visit the lakes para ma-promote yung lakes as a tourist destination. And maboost yung local economy.
Turkey has a new addition to its naval fleet as it unveils its very first aircraft carrier. The vessel is the country's largest warship and will carry light aircraft and drones. It can accommodate combat helicopters, military drones, and up to 94 vehicles, including 13 tanks. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says the ship will allow Turkey to carry out military and humanitarian operations all over the world. NATO member Turkey has bolstered its defense industry in recent years. The country has had significant success building combat drones. Turkey has repeatedly tried to act as a mediator between Russia and Ukraine.
Thousands of Israelis rallied in the West Bank Monday, pushing for more settlements in the occupied Palestinian territory. National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir joined the crowd. He says the answer to terror is to build more settlements. Ben-Gvir also says terrorists should be subject to the death penalty. Israel has occupied the West Bank since 1967 Six-Day War. Since then, scores of Jewish settlements have been built alongside Palestinian towns, cities, and villages. International law deems all settlements illegal, but Israel says those planned by the state are legal, while those established by its citizens without government approval are not. On Monday, Israelis of all ages walked to an outpost settlement built without approval. Soldiers lined the route of the demonstration. The hilltop settlement where the demonstrators gathered is now abandoned. Residents reluctantly agreed to leave in 2021 while Israel officials examined whether to make it official. Previous demonstrations at the site resulted in several Palestinians being shot dead by Israeli forces. On Monday, some villagers threw rocks at soldiers who responded with tear gas and firing rubber bullets. The Palestinian Red Crescent Society says it treated 216 people for injuries.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vows to restore security on all fronts. This after surging violence that included rocket fire from Lebanon and Syria. Recent incidents of heavy clashes, shootings, rocket strikes, and a car ramming attack marred the neighboring countries. The day after the Israeli police raid, more than 30 rockets were fired from Lebanese soil into Israel. Israeli-Palestinian violence had already intensified since Netanyahu's new government took power in December. The latest surge came late last month after he announced a pause for dialogue on judicial reform legislation, which split the nation and caused divisions in his government. Hundreds of protesters took to the streets of Tel Aviv to denounce the government and condemn the prime minister's speech. The conflict has this year claimed the lives of at least 94 Palestinians, 19 Israelis, 1 Ukrainian, and 1 Italian.
6 Chinese individuals have been sentenced to jail terms ranging from 8 to 13 years for human trafficking. The crime was uncovered in January of 2022 when a vlogger discovered Xiao Huamei, the victim, in a shed with an iron chain around her neck and living in miserable conditions. Dong Chi-min, the husband responsible for chaining her, was found guilty of torturing and abusing his wife, as well as illegal imprisonment. Xiao Huamei, who was a teenager at the time, was abducted from her home province of Yunnan in 1998 and sold to a farmer in Tonghai province for 5,000 yuan, which is approximately $600 at the time. After a year, she was sold to another couple who then sold her to Tong's father. The court revealed that Tong forced Xiao Huamei to have children despite her degrading mental health. She was eventually freed by local police and taken to a hospital for treatment, where she remains. The case has garnered widespread attention in China and beyond, with many expressing outrage at the treatment of the woman.
China has handed long prison sentences to 2 prominent activists, a move that has been widely condemned by human rights groups. Su Shiyong, a civil rights lawyer, received a 12-year sentence, while Dai Xing, a well-known environmental activist and writer, received a sentence of 14 years in prison. During China's crackdown on dissent in 2022, the 2 activists were among a group of people detained. Su was charged with inciting subversion of state power, while Dai was charged with subversion of state power. The trial and sentence have been criticized by human rights groups, with many describing the proceedings as an attempt to silence dissenting voices and a violation of freedom of speech. Numerous activists and writers have been detained lately, including those who oppose Beijing's treatment of issues like basic liberties, natural security, and political change. The Chinese government has defended its activities, expressing that they are important to keep up with social solidness and safeguard public safety. The condemning of Dai Xing and Su Zhiyong has drawn global consideration as rights groups demand Beijing to respect common liberties. In other news, Tennessee State Representative Justin Jones has been reappointed to his seat in the House after being expelled by Republicans for his participation in a Capitol protest against gun violence. Jones's expulsion was controversial, with many accusing Republicans of racism and stifling free speech. Despite the outcry, the Republicans refused to reverse their decision. However, with Democrats now in control of the committee, the House has reinstated Jones to his seat. Democrats argue that Jones's expulsion was unjust, that he was simply exercising his right to free speech. Jones has promised to continue fighting for social justice causes in the State House. He has been an outspoken critic of the state's gun laws and has advocated for police reform.
On Monday, President Joe Biden signed the measure ending the COVID-19 pandemic emergency in the United States. The White House released a one-sentence statement about Biden's signature, indicating that the president had agreed with House Joint Resolution 7. Though he originally planned to extend the emergency through May 11, Biden ended up signing the Republican proposed law that Congress had approved. This over the objections of many Democrats. Biden's party had argued that ending the emergency would create wide-range chaos and uncertainty throughout the healthcare system. But a handful ended up voting in favor of the GOP proposed bill in the House and about half in the Senate. The emergency was originally declared on March 18, 2020 by then-President Donald Trump after the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a pandemic. Over the course of 3 years, more than 1.1 million American deaths have been attributed to the virus.
U.S. President Joe Biden arrives in Belfast to launch high-profile commemorations of the 25th anniversary of the deal that brought peace to Northern Ireland. Arian Celestino tells us more.
U.S. President Joe Biden will arrive in Belfast Tuesday to launch high-profile commemorations of the 25th anniversary of the deal that brought peace to Northern Ireland. Biden will be welcomed on the tarmac by British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who is looking to break deadlock in the UK province, where political dysfunction and security concerns threaten to overshadow the historic milestone. Underlying the threat, masked youths pelted police vehicles with petrol bombs on Monday during an illegal dissident Republican march in Londonderry. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre told reporters ahead of his visit, saying that Biden is to mark the tremendous progress made since the signing of the 1998 Belfast Good Friday Agreement. She added that the visit will underscore the readiness of the United States to support Northern Ireland's vast economic potential to the benefit of all communities. According to Sunak's Downing Street office, Sunak will use Biden's visit to celebrate Northern Ireland's successes and encourage further long-term investment. Biden, who has Irish ancestry, will then travel south on Wednesday to Ireland for a 3-day visit, in part tracing his family history. According to the White House, he will deliver an address to Ireland's parliament and celebrate the deep historic ties the country shares with the United States. The speech will be closely scrutinized for any signs of pressure on Sunak to end the current logjam caused by the Conservative Party's loyalist allies. From London, United Kingdom, this is Arian Celestino for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Coming right up, an AI-generated text detector checks for plagiarism. A biotech company is revolutionizing the creation of protein for animal feed. And find out the nominees for the 59th Big Sang Awards. All these and more when Mata ng Agila International returns.
Yan po mga kaibigan ang ating mga balita. Abangan na lamang ang susunog. Susunog? Bakit susunog? Diba dapat susunod?
Susunog!
Ha?
Susunog ka kay! May nasusunog! Nasusunog ang goodwill!
Nasusunog? Ha? Nasusunog? Teka muna, sandali lang. Nagbabaga mga balita. Ang nagaganap ngayon dito sa ating kinaroroonan. Bakit? Anong nangyayari?
Nasusunog ang goodwill!
Nasusunog? Ha?
Attorney, doon sa kusina nagsimula! Hindi, nasusunog! Sa swimming pool! Sa swimming pool! Ano sa swimming pool? Paano mangyayari sa swimming pool?
Teka muna, sandali lang! Chichinelasin ko kayong lahat. Ano ang pinangyarihan ng sunog? Saan ang galing? Sino nagsunog? Yan po ang malalaman natin mga kasagutan sa Season 2 ng Goodwill.
Halika na! Baka doon sa kusina! Miss Corina, pwede kong pa-shoutout? Sabihin lang, shoutout, Mang Pepe. Mang Pepe, ano ba tayo na nagsusunog din? Okay, halika.
Crypto billionaires lost a whopping $110 billion last year. There are now only 9 crypto billionaires with a total value of less than $30 billion compared to 19 crypto billionaires worth $140 billion last year, according to Forbes' 2023 World's Billionaires list. The top 3 crypto billionaires still include Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao. He is still the richest man in the industry, though his fortune has fallen to $10.5 billion from $65 billion a year ago. Second place went to Ripple co-founder Jed McCaleb, whose net worth was $2.4 billion after selling his XRP per the terms of a separation agreement with Ripple. Rounding out the top 3 is Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong, who is worth $2.2 billion, down from $6.6 billion last year. The biggest crash of the year was that of Sam Bankman-Fried, whose $24 billion fortune plummeted to zero after the bankruptcy of his crypto exchange FTX and subsequent allegations. His trial is set to begin in October. He faces up to life in prison.
With university students across Europe using artificial intelligence to generate essays and texts for their homework, a French company, Compilation, released an AI-generated text detector to catch plagiarism and content written by either humans or AI. Free to use and works in several languages, the technology provides anti-plagiarism tools with 90% accuracy and is specifically designed for educational institutions. The company's software can even detect text or content produced by popular AI helpers such as ChatGPT and UChat. With the success of their preliminary or beta test results in identifying both AI-generated and human-generated text, the company will soon release a commercial product. And in 2023, it plans to produce a feature that can distinguish blended AI and human content. This feature will be integrated into the company's anti-plagiarism software.
Animal feed for livestock is mostly soybean or fish meal, and this worsens the Earth's deforestation and overfishing problems. Here comes Deep Branch, a biotech company based in the UK and the Netherlands, which is revolutionizing the creation of protein for animal feed. The startup company created a technology that takes purified carbon dioxide and hydrogen, mixes them with microbes, and creates protein powder, which can be added to animal feed. This technology, which utilizes a process called gas fermentation, promotes food security as it is protected from disruptions in global supply chain or even from unpredictable weather. Deep Branch's technology, therefore, contributes to saving the planet through sustainable animal farming.
They actually produced sea lice.
South Korea's version of the Oscar Awards has released its roster of caliber artists, which K-drama fans are crazy of. The Baeksang Awards reaches its 59th year of showcasing South Korea's excellence in film, the television, and the theater. In the television section, Park Yoon-bin of Extraordinary Attorney Woo, Kim Yoo-soo of Under the Queen's Umbrella, Song Hye-kyo of The Glory, Bae Suzy of Anna, and Kim Ji-won of My Liberation Notes are the nominees for Best Actress. Choi Min-sik of Big Bat, Lee Sung-min of Reborn Rich, Son Seok-koo of My Liberation Note, Lee Byung-hun of Our Blues, and Jung Kyung-ho of Crash Course in Romance are the nominees for Best Actor. On Facebook and Twitter, various fandoms or artists are cheering on who will take home the prestigious awards. The batch of nominees is chosen among films, shows, and dramas aired and released between April 1, 2022 and March 31, 2023. The ceremony will be held on April 28 at the Incheon Paradise City in South Korea.
And to end this Tuesday night, here's a quote from 19th century American writer Dale Carnegie. Develop success from failures. Discouragement and failure are two of the surest stepping stones to success.
That's why failures are also important in our life, because how else can we savor success if we haven't been through any failing steps?
And if you say stepping stones, that means you are to keep moving forward and not get stunted where you failed, right?
Yes, moving onwards and upwards.
Yes, definitely.
And that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am Ricky Matay.
And I am Nina Richie Alagao Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.